What's up everyone, and welcome back to the Bold and the Beautiful 24 official channel. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button today. Let's get started. Ridge does CPR and kisses Brooke. Grace begs Finn to keep her horrible secret, and Ridge breathes life back into Brooke and their romance. In Italy, Ridge swims frantically toward Brooke, who has been tossed unceremoniously into the Mediterranean and is floating, alarmingly still. On his boat, Nick is out cold. Ridge seizes the unconscious person, Brooke, and drags her over to another watercraft, where a man helps him pull her up out of the water. At the Forrester mansion, Donna and Katie panic over the idea of Nick possibly proposing. Out of nowhere, the blonde gets a feeling that something bad could happen to their sister. They hope Brooke is okay and realize she hasn't been posting. Back in Italy, all of the fans who had predicted that Ridge would perform CPR on Brooke are proved right when he covers her mouth with his own and then pumps on her chest, pleading, "Come on!" In her mind, Brooke sees the light. Then she's walking on a beach toward Ridge, who's dressed all in white, and throws her arms around him. She coughs up some sea water when she returns to reality, and when she does, she finds her ex staring down at her. Naturally, Ridge kisses her. Katie and Donna reminisce about Ridge and Brooke's love for the 10th time at the Forrester mansion, while Ridge declares that he will never again take Brooke for granted. He assures her that he will make amends. "We will rectify this." Will Grace manage to keep her secret? At Bill's place, Hope and Liam apparently have nothing else to talk about as they recap that he had a life-threatening brain tumor for the gazillionth time. Liam marvels at his newfound vitality thanks to Dr. Buckingham. He wonders how he will ever be able to repay her for curing the unthinkable. At that very moment, Finn is laying into Grace in her office for telling Liam he had brain cancer so she could charge $1 million for fake experimental surgery. Stating the obvious, Finn declares that he's shocked. He asks his co-worker to reflect on what he has done to Liam and his family. Before pleading that she was desperate, Grace shrugs off the fact that he did in fact have a brain bleed. Finn demands to hear the whole story. Grace informs Finn that Reese's gambling debts are to blame for everything. She explains that she and her daughters were being followed by bookmakers. She paid them some of the money, but didn't know where to get the rest. After realizing Liam was a Spencer, she gave him medication that induced his problematic symptoms. All she wanted to do was get him to agree to the treatment. She complains that the Luna shooting changed her plan, but when Finn saved Liam, she went for it. Finn rubs his head. Grace begs Finnegan to understand. Hope and Liam reminisce about Reese Buckingham's kidnapping of their daughter and the gloomy circumstances surrounding the agonizing deception at Bill's. They are glad that he is in prison, though it is clear that he is not, as he has been out and about making poor bets. Having no idea what's going down across town, Liam declares that Grace is an angel. Hope concurs. She's a saint. Back at the hospital, Finn rails at Grace for deceiving Liam and conning him too. She's caused agony and emotional pain. Grace tries, but Liam's fine. Finn can't believe she'd do this after what her ex-husband did to Liam and Hope. She sold her integrity for $1 million. After Finn admits he hasn't shared his suspicions with anyone else yet, Grace wheedles, "We can handle this, the two of us." He can't believe she's asking him to keep her secret. Grace had no choice but to fight for her girls. "I am begging you, Finn. Pardon me." The Bold and the Beautiful reveals that Ridge Forrester did CPR and kissed Brooke Logan before promising to make this right. Since Nick Marone lost consciousness due to a fall on his boat, it was up to Ridge to swim to unconscious Brooke in the water. Ridge managed to pull Brooke over to a different vessel and got some help getting her on board. Brooke wasn't breathing at this point, so Ridge began chest compressions and tried to breathe life back into her lungs. Brooke thought she was on a beach with Ridge when she saw a bright light. Ridge gave her a passionate kiss after Brooke finally sputtered out water and came back to him. Ridge also stated that they would rectify the situation and that he would never take Brooke for granted again. While Donna Logan Forrester and Katie Logan were discussing Brooke and the possibility that Nick might propose, they grew concerned over Brooke's lack of social media posts and hoped she was all right. At the Spencer mansion, Liam Spencer continued talking to Hope Logan about the difference between Dirty Reese Buckingham and Grace Buckingham, who was an angel. Grace used Finn's admission that Liam had a brain bleed to create a fake tumor at the hospital. That included giving Liam meds that would create his symptoms and push him toward the phony miracle treatment. After the Luna Nozawa drama, Grace talked about discovering that Liam's father was the wealthy Bill Spencer and convincing him to try the experimental procedure. Finn was furious at Grace's deception, despite the fact that she exaggerated her sob story about the bookmaker's threats against her and her daughters. Since Grace lied to Finn too, that made him even more upset about this whole situation. Finn snapped about the $1 million and how Grace had sold her integrity. However, Grace argued that Liam was fine and hoped that Finn would agree to keep this news between them. Grace begged for Finn's silence and persuaded him to forgive her when she asked him to stand in for her. Finn resisted Grace's request. That decision will be made by the bold and the beautiful Finn soon enough. In a spectacular blend of drama, romance, and betrayal, The Bold and the Beautiful delivers another unforgettable episode that shatters expectations and reignites passions. Ridge Forrester is confronted with a nightmare scenario when he spots Brooke Logan, motionless and floating in the Mediterranean Sea, somewhere along the sun-drenched coastline of Italy. On Nick Marone's boat, chaos had just broken out just a few moments earlier. Whether due to rough waters or the sheer weight of unresolved tension, Nick had been knocked unconscious, and Brooke had been hurled overboard like a ragdoll lost to the waves. It was supposed to be a scenic fashion cruise, but it turned into a life-or-death moment, one that pushed Ridge into action and set in motion a wave of revelations that would ripple all the way back to Los Angeles. Ridge dived into the water without hesitation, his strokes slicing through the surf as he struggled to reach Brooke, fueled by pure instinct and the echoes of decades of love. His eyes scanned the currents for any sign of her golden hair. When he reached her limp body, there was no time to think. With Nick still out cold and no help in sight, Ridge dragged Brooke toward another nearby watercraft, shouting for assistance. She was rescued by a good Samaritan and carried to the deck, where Ridge begged her to return to him in a desperate voice. He performed CPR, pressing on her chest, breathing into her lungs, whispering "Come on, Logan" between compressions. Brooke had a strange dream in which she was walking on a beach barefoot with white sand between her toes and the sun shining on the water. Ridge, all white, stood in front of her, arms outstretched, waiting for her. It was their paradise, a private world untouched by scandal, regret, or heartbreak. She ran into his arms. Then suddenly, the vision evaporated, and she coughed violently, spitting out salt water. Gasping, her eyes fluttered open, and there he was, her rescuer, her greatest heartbreak, and maybe, just maybe, her future once more. And with all the intensity of someone who'd nearly lost the love of his life, Ridge kissed her. Not a soft, tentative kiss, but a kiss charged with gratitude, love, and a promise unspoken. Not only was it CPR and revival, but it also brought back their connection, their passion, and something much more fragile: trust. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic at the Forrester mansion, Katie and Donna Logan were pacing. They had been discussing the very real possibility that Nick Marone might propose to Brooke, an idea that sent waves of anxiety through them both. Brooke hadn't been posting, hadn't called, and suddenly Donna got a terrible feeling in her gut, the kind of intuition only sisters understand. "Something's wrong," she muttered, and Katie agreed. The unease settled in the room like fog. Ridge and Brooke's epic love story came back to mind once more. How many times had they split up only to reunite? How many times had fate stepped in and reminded them of what they shared? Donna said it plainly: no matter how far apart they drift, she always ends up with Ridge. At that very moment, Ridge was vowing never to take Brooke for granted again. Soaking wet, kneeling beside her, he whispered, "We'll fix this. I'll correct this. I cherish you." But as Ridge and Brooke's romantic saga took on new life, another dark secret was unraveling, one that had already altered lives and stood poised to ruin more. At the hospital, John Finnegan cornered Dr. Grace Buckingham in her office. His voice was cold and tight, his expression a mixture of rage and disbelief. He laid it all out: the fake diagnosis of Liam Spencer's brain tumor, the $1 million in charges for a bogus experimental procedure, the ethical violations, the emotional wreckage. He directly inquired of her, "How could you do this?" Grace tried to justify herself, saying Liam did have a minor brain bleed, nothing that would cause terminal illness, but enough to exploit. As she talked about the loan sharks who were after her after Reese Buckingham's gambling left them drowning in debt, her voice was shaking. She insisted that I was desperate. My daughters were following me. I had to take action. But Finn was unmoved. He reminded her of the Hippocratic Oath, of her duty, of what she had done to Liam and to Hope. "You told a man he was dying," Finn snapped. "And for what?" "Money." Back at Bill Spencer's house, Liam and Hope had no idea what was going on behind the scenes. Reminiscing once more about Liam's miraculous recovery and the angel who saved him, they curled up on the couch. Hope smiled softly, saying how grateful she was that Grace had come into their lives. In awe of his new lease on life, Liam chuckled. "How do I even begin to repay her?" he asked aloud. But the audience knew what they didn't. Grace had duped them both. Hope's eyes glistened as she said, "She's a saint." It was a moment of dramatic irony that was so thick that a scalpel could cut through it. Meanwhile, Grace was unraveling under Finn's interrogation. She admitted injecting Liam with drugs to cause symptoms. She admitted to using the chaos of Luna Nozawa's shooting to distract from her own brewing scandal. And she admitted, finally, to recognizing Liam as Bill Spencer's son and seeing dollar signs. It wasn't about saving lives. It was about her own survival. Despite this, Finn remained composed. Her story might explain her choices, but it could never excuse them. "You sold your soul," he told her. "And for how much?" $1 million. A band-aid over Reese's disasters? Grace tried one last time to appeal to his sense of family. "I did it for my girls," she whispered. "For Zend and Paris. I didn't know what else to do." But Finn didn't back down. He had not yet told anyone what he suspected, but now that he knew the full story, silence would make him complicit. Grace then made one last desperate request. "Please, Finn, keep this between us. No one has to know. We can fix this together." Finn looked down, shoulders tense. Her betrayal wasn't just professional, it was personal. She had used him. "I told him lies. Put the lives of Liam and others in danger." Could he really bury the truth? While Finn was locked in a moral dilemma, Katie and Donna were on high alert. They tried to contact Brooke again. No response. Donna scrolled through social media.